Good afternoon, and thank you very much for allowing the time to join us today. Welcome to this month's Civil Designer Software Open Classroom webinar. My name is Charles Scott, and today I'm going to be joined by Christopher Schmidt, who will be covering Civil Designer's Road Regression functionality. During Christopher's time today, please feel free to use the text chat service on your GoToWebinar app or webpage to ask us any questions you may have during his presentation. After today's webinar, we'll post a video copy of the event on our website in the webinar section for your further reference. And by Monday, we would have posted the searchable FAQ videos created from this webinar in our website's FAQ section. Christopher, welcome back. It has been great working with you again. Please take it away.
Thanks, Charles, and welcome everybody to this webinar. Today we're going to be discussing regression analysis and where we can use it in different applications for different projects that we have going. The first part of this webinar, I'll be discussing creating new roads that will still need to be constructed, where you have limitations being the cadastral boundaries, where you want it to be the road to be the center of these cadastral boundaries. I'll show you how to quickly model these and then create these roads. We'll then move on to part 2, which will be the extract strings. Extract strings is really when we're going to be looking at roads that are not going to change. If there is not going to be any changes to these main roads, for example, it's a main road that your new road needs to junction onto, where you need to do site distance checks, or other applications will be when there is a rehabilitation of embankments to a road where the road itself is not going to change. The quickest way to do these will be using these extract strings functions, which we'll show you how to work with. We'll then cover in part 3, which is the extract alignments. Extract alignments is really useful when you're going to have a project that you need to do a design review on for the client. You need to show them where the curvature of the road is not meeting the design standards, or you need to create a new road of an existing road to best fit it, and then there's going to be a rip and recompaction of the existing layer works, and you'd like to meet a new design for this. So these 3 parts we're going to cover. Let's start off with part 1. If we zoom into this location, I had a few users asking me how do I zoom around during the WebExes. I pre-set up, which I'll show you how to do. You can go to View, Viewports, and you can define name viewports. So I'll give that viewport 1. I'll be working in this area today. I'll also be working in this area, as well as this road over here. So now you can see, now by pressing the keys 1, 2, and 3, I'm able to jump to those locations on the site. This is quite handy for when you're working on large sites and you need to zoom back to the beginning of a road, for instance. You can manage these by going to View, Viewports, and go to Name Viewports. Here you can select them, remove them, and add new ones. We're going to be looking at an urban road environment, and we're going to be looking at using the cadastral boundaries provided by the land surveyor and trying to work out a center line for this design. We'll then be using the regression tools to model the road. Once the road has been modeled by Civil Designer, you will need to just change a few items to meet the design speed, or to lower the road to take on stormwater to drain the properties. We'll look at some CAD preparation. Once again, this is not needed, but I like to work with CAD lines and convert them into the models that I'm making. I'll go through to Toolkit mode, Toolkit, General, Draw Centered Line. I'll then ask, yes, I'd like to have the snap mode activated, and we'll just zoom in over here, and I'll go and click on the 2 edges, and then I'll click on the next edge. You can now choose to put in your curvature of the road. I always think it's best to put it in now. If you know what those curves will be, you can place them in later in the horizontal alignment. So I'm going to go to fillet. I'm going to use a radius of 35. If you see it putting the radius in the wrong location, you can always press escape and press spacebar to return to the previous task. To speed up the modeling of the road, especially if it's a very long road, you have the option of either clicking on each entity when converting it into a road model, or you can make this into a polyline. Let's go ahead and make this into polyline. I'm going to be in CAD mode and I'm going to choose Tools, Line to Polyline, select the place where I'd like to start, in other words, where stake value 0 will be, approximately. And we can then say that we would like to delete the line entities. You can now see that you've got a polyline, and very importantly, you've got a visual indicator of where the vertex is, where the vertice starts. That's going to help you know on what side of the road the stake values are going to be. If yours doesn't have this color and shape, you can always go to Settings, System Settings. You can go to Visual Indicators, change it to Vertex for the type, and there you can set up your vertex type. Remember when we converted this into a polyline, we selected on this side. The reason I use the word approximately is because this will start off at stake value 0. However, once an intersection has been created, stake value 0 will be shifted and moved to the center line of the main road as per the industry requirement. We've now set this up and we can convert this into a road. I'll go across to Roads mode and I'll go to File, select Road File. I'll start a new road. We can choose a template that we'd like to use. I'm going to use the single 8 that's shipped with the software. That comes with sidewalks as well. And you can also choose which type of curbs you'd like to use. You can load more curb groups in. We do have various other curves. I'm going to make sure it's a strings road, and we will get our information from DTM surface 1 when inside the intersections. We can then press OK. We would now like the program to automatically model junctions at both the start and the end. So I'm going to go to File, Option Settings, Roads, use Interactive Road Expert, automatically add junctions. I'll increase that to 20 meters. I can then go to Alignment, Regression, Extract Alignments. Later on, we're going to be looking at Extract Strings. We're now going to, because this is not an existing road, we'll only be doing the horizontal and the vertical alignments for now. We can then press OK, and we'll be extracting from CAD. We can then select the CAD entity. As you can see, it selected the full CAD entity, and we can say yes. It's picked up an intersection at this location. I'm going to use a bell mouth radius of 8. It's picked up another one at this location. I'll use a bell mouth radius of 8. We can then choose our intervals along the straights and the curves. I'm going to use 20 meters, and for curves I'll use 1 when in an urban environment. We'll then extract the DTM surface 1 and store that in our road layer called ground. We'll extract 30 meters on the left and the right. It has created a vertical alignment, but we need to go and view it for possible errors. That's because it's draping the natural ground, and you'll need to model it and change it to suit the design speed or the drainage applications that might be taking shape in that road. Right, great. So the road has been modeled. You now just need to tweak this to become a design, lower the road, add some intersections here, and do some junction verification to make sure that the drainage will take place. We do have videos on all of these items. I'm going to look at the vertical alignment that has been created. So here you can see it has taken the vertical alignment and draped it on the natural ground. So now you can go and change the curve lengths to match the K values that are needed for the design speed. You can also lower the roads to meet the stormwater requirements for drainage of the earths and anything else that's needed for the urban environment. Great. So we're going to go over to a larger road that exists, and we're going to try and see how we can best model this. Here you can see we've got a highway with carriageways on both sides. So it's a dual carriageway highway. I'll jump to the start. You can see that I've got the left edge, the crown of the road, which we will be calling the left pivot, and the left median. We also have the center line of the carriageway. Then we have the right median, the right pivot, which is the crown of the road, and the right edge. It is good to sit down with the land surveyor before they go out to survey so that they can have an understanding of what you're going to be doing with the data that's coming back. You do need the data to sit as feature lines with its own naming convention along the route. From there, you can then model the road accordingly. I have picked up that some of the survey that comes in has survey for the road markings, but not for the geometry of the road. Road markings are good for different analysis, but in terms of modeling an existing road, it is good to get the road edges and the crowns, as well as the center, if possible, of the road. It's not necessary that the surveyor will know where the center of the road is, so you might have to do that manually yourself. And it doesn't need to be in survey information. It can also be as polylines. We're going to convert this information into 3D polylines, and I'll show you how to do that quickly, as well as manually. The manual way of doing this, if you don't have the survey and terrain functionality, is to go to CAD mode. You then switch off the DP snap so that you can snap in the 3D plane. You can then go to Draw, Polyline, 3D Polyline. Make sure that the snap is on and that you've got your snapping points or your points switched on. So now you can snap to points. You can then go and snap to the points and create 3D polylines to model to. You can see that all of these have values along the route, and it has picked up the Z value. However, if you've got the survey and terrain functionality tools, then you don't need to manually do it. And if your surveyor has named them correctly, then it will be an easy process. I'm going to go and switch on some entities that I've created. So I've pre-created all these lines along this route. As you can see here, my starting point is in this location, and we've got a little bit extra data beforehand. That is always very essential because your starting point, you want to have information perpendicular to it. You can see I've left out the LE because I want to show you how to generate this 3 kilometer information automatically instead of clicking on every survey point. I'm going to click on the ER button, to filter, and I would like to just filter out the LE. So I'm going to type LE. You won't see it if it's not in the view here, otherwise you can just type it. And here you can see now the LE has been displayed, and we can go to terrain mode, strings, string creation, string from pointer string. I'll click on the first one. You can give it a name, but we're going to be exploding it in a second, so it doesn't really matter. And I've got a terrain string. I can then go, and you can see that the terrain string has made its way all the way to the end. This is not always possible. There might be one or two cleanup that you need to do with the break lines, using these tools to remove and add break lines along the route so that it knows where to follow to create that. In this application, the survey has been named correctly, so it's been able to do it quickly for us. I'll then change it from a terrain string. I will go to tools. I'll go to CAD mode, tools, explode once. It is now a polyline, and as you can see, it's got Z values. It is a 3D polyline. To keep with my colors, I'll just change that back to orange. And we can switch off those. We could probably switch off those triangles as well, and we can work with this information. Great. So I'm going to show you how to use the extract strings. Extract strings is to get an as-is model. So basically, exactly as it's been surveyed, it will create a road model for you. The applications for this are for working out site distances, for creating a extra lane on the highway where the rest of the road is not going to change at all, for generating cross sections, for generating intersections to tie into a road that's not going to change, and to generate thin film analysis to work out where on the road there's going to be aquaplaning on an existing road. So there's quite a number of applications for the extract strings item. I wouldn't use extract strings if you're going to be rip and recompacting the road in a later event. Also, I wouldn't be using extract strings if I need to have a longitudinal view of it. This is purely for modeling existing roads for the applications I've spoken about. However, there's nothing stopping you creating two roads during the design stage of an existing road. One with exactly as it's been surveyed with the extract strings, and another one with the theoretical alignments. You can never really say the alignment on an existing road is exactly as it will be, because how that road was constructed might be slightly deviating from the original design, and you're never going to make it fit exactly on. That's where the extract strings came into effect, because that will model the road exactly as needed. So it depends on what the application will be. I'm going to show you, I have already shown you the extract alignments, which I'm going to show you again in the dual carriageway existing road application in a moment. But for now, I'm going to show you the extract strings. Before we extract it, I just want to create a road template for this extraction. So I'm going to go to roads mode, and I'll go to tools, template editor, go to carriageways. I'll use the ground dual carriageway for this application, and we would like to put some info in the median. So I'm going to choose the median condition to be slope and extract. We'll do a 1-in-1 slope, and we can say OK. So we can also test that. We can say add ground. There you can see it's added the ground, and then it extracts whatever information we can find. That's the best to prevent a carriageway being built in between. So I will then save this. I'll call this dual ground carriageway. And now I'm going to go to File, select Road File. I'll then, as we haven't created a road yet, I'm going to click on this button to edit the road, and we can then load in our dual carriageway. We can change this to strings, and we're not really going to edit any information here because there isn't any curbs on this highway. We can also allow it to take surface number 1, and we can say OK. We can then go and extract the strings. It's a dual carriageway, and we would like to extract all these entities along the route. It'll ask us for the start point, and it's got the point snap, so I'm going to snap at this location. I'll use my jump keys to go to the end of the road, and I'll snap over here. It'll then ask us for the stake line, which happens to be this one. If you're modeling a single carriageway, then your L pivot would be this one. It would also be your stake line. It would also be your start and your end. Your start would be there, your end would be there. But for dual carriageways, we need this as your stake line. Once I've extracted it, it says there's only one entity selected, but remember that's a polyline, so that's perfect. We can then go and right-click extract, and we can say yes to override. And I'm going to, now this is an important key. If it was a brand new road, then I would say every 20 meters I would like information. Because this is an existing road, the more intervals I have, the more accurate I'm going to be extracting data from the survey. Look, the accuracy that we work with is up to the accuracy of whatever was surveyed. So it all depends on the survey. So in your application, I would do every 5 meters, but to speed up, I'm going to do every 10 meters for this webinar. It's busy crunching the numbers, and it'll come back to us when it's ready. So now it's going to ask us for the L pivot, and where would it like to get its information from? Well, we've got the survey here, but if you don't have the survey information, but you've got 3D polylines, you can go and get the heights from the CAD entities itself. So that's quite great if you've been given a CAD model of a road and you'd like to convert it into a road model in Civil Designer. You can use this functionality. We, however, have the survey information, so we'll use that, and we won't be applying any constants for now. It'll ask us to select the L pivot, which is this point over here, and I will extract. And then we'd like the R pivot, which is surface 1. And then it would like the left road edge. The right road edge. The left median. And the right median. It's extracted it, and if you move any of these CAD entities, the road model will update. Great, so you can go and edit and replace any of the CAD entities as well. We'll then display the road, and it is a And we'll put the shading on as well. With the survey now extracted and becoming a road model, we can turn on some of the features. For instance, if we go to our contours, we can go and display. Let's put every 0.1. We can make that perhaps a different color. And we can put our slope arrows on to see which way the water's flowing. So if we look at the shading and we go to road shading, you can place your drainage on to anything flatter than 0.5% will then shade in a red color, so we can see which way the contours are sloping based on the survey that was done. You can also have a look at your cross sections. So if we go to section graphical edit, we can then select and we can see your cross sections that are on each carriageway. You can also generate cross sections. I see I haven't got the road layers name, so I just want to quickly do that. So I'm going to go to File, select Road File, select that first road, click on the control panel, click on Layers, and I just want to rename this. I'm just going to call this Road 1, Layer 1, and then I'll say Survey of Existing. And then I'll call this Road 1, Layer 2, and I'll call this Road Model. Final levels. We can then press OK and OK. It just helps when you're plotting to know which layers you're plotting. So I'm going to plot generate. I'm going to choose the SandRoll template. And if we go to next, we can see I'm going to plot the first 3 layers, but I'm actually just interested in these 2 layers, which is your existing survey and your road model. And I'm only going to plot the first one, so I'm not going to auto scroll to the next page just to save time. Here you can see it's plotted all of that out. So we've got the finished road levels for the 3 on the left and the right, as well as the offsets for those features. And then we've also got ground information plotting at various points along the cross section of the road. You can also see that we've got your slopes that I've put on for each carriageway. These cross sections are now ready for you to do certain other applications with. For instance, your thin film analysis, you could possibly run along this project. You could also create junctions and mini roundabouts with this information. And you can also add an existing lane onto this road. I'm going to show you how to add an existing lane or a lane widening using a polyline for this particular project. This road is going in this stake value, so I'll draw the polyline in this order. And we can go to CAD mode, and I'm going to say draw polyline, lightweight polyline. And I'm basically wanting to extend this out and back in again. I'll say finish and leave it as an open polyline. I'll press escape twice just to end that off. And I can now go and say in roads mode, I can go alignments, regression, and we can then choose extract strings again. This time I'm only going to do the left edge, which is this one here. And I'm going to choose to retain the crossfall from the strings data. Here you can see it has retained the crossfall using the strings data. We can also go and say section graphical edit. You can see it's widened the road and kept the existing grade of that road for that location. So that's one of the applications that you can use for that. I'm now going to show you how to extract alignments. The purpose of extracting alignments is to find a best fit theoretical alignment on the road. This will then populate the edit alignment spreadsheet, the vertical alignment spreadsheet, as well as the edge levels spreadsheet. That will be the cross sections at each interval, as well as the widths at each interval. This will be in a spreadsheet form, and it will also be able to edit the long section curvature. The application of this is really if the alignment is going to change, if there's a rip and recompact of the carriageways, then it's best to use this method where you have control of editing the roadway. I'm going to go and to alignment, regression, extract alignments, and I'm going to choose to select all of these, the horizontal, the vertical, the super elevations, as well as the edges from CAD. But I'm not going to take it right now. I just want to discuss the super elevations. At each interval, it'll need to get a sample for the super elevation. So here you can see we're currently looking 1 meter from the center and 3 meters from the center to find what is the crossfall at that location. So that's not going to work. I'll cancel that and I'll quickly go to CAD mode, tools, measure, and then use the measuring tools. You don't have to be too accurate because the accuracy will come with the measuring from the one place to the other. So I'm going to go from about here and to the middle of this carriageway. We'll just extend that up a bit more. So that is 6.2. And I'll measure from here to about here. And that's 10.5. So we'll go from here to here just to double check. That's 7. And that's 11. Okay, so we can then go back to our roads mode. I'm going to go to File, select Road File, start a new road. I'll call this Road by Extract Alignments. And say OK. So that is not the active road. If you want to, you can switch off the previous road. And we can then go and run the extraction. So we would like to do all of these, and we picked up earlier that this was minus 10.5 and minus 6.5. This side we had 7 in positive values, and I think it was 11.2. So it doesn't have to be too accurate, it's just a sample at each location just to find out what was the grade at that location. So it'll take a sample there and then work out the crossfalls for each interval. We'll extract the CAD. It'll ask us for the road center line, so we'll select this one. And we'll choose our intervals. I'm going to do 10 on the straights and 5 on the curves. We can then take samples every 20 meters on the left. Maybe we should do 30 meters on the left and the right. We'll get the data from surface 1 and we'll store that in road layer 1. It'll ask us if we want to extract the pivot points. I say yes. I'll get the left edge, a left pivot. And I'll right click extract. I'll then do the right pivot. I'll then do the left edge. I'll do the right edge. I'll do the left median. I'll do the right median. Still generating the edge levels. Here you can see it's then created these alignments along the route. To the end, just takes in the lane widths and widenings. With this data extracted, we can now look at different aspects of the alignments that have been extracted. I'm going to go to my vertical alignment, for instance. Here you can see it's created both the right and left hand sides pivots, so you can change between the two. You can also examine it with the spreadsheet data. It does create a lot of extra data, so what you can do to remove any data that doesn't contribute to the shape, you can always say normalize the data, and that should remove any extra items. You can have a look. So there it's removed a few points that didn't really contribute to the shape. We can close that and save. It'll then just regenerate the model. We can have a look at the cross-section. I'll press escape to start at the beginning. Here you can see as it travels along the road, it matches the natural ground and the existing carriageway as well. We can also look at it on the horizontal alignment. I noticed that the horizontal alignment that it's picked up, if we press F4 on the keyboard, you can see that it's picked up. It's try and matched exactly the vertices of the polyline. Try and do a best fit in that regard. We can also look at going to our edge controls. Here you can see the crossfalls. You can also normalize the data here as well, and it will strip out any data that's not really contributing to the shape and the model. We can do the same for our widths. That looks a lot better, so you can see where it continues with that offsets. Still processing. Great. Can save that and let it remodel the road. With the extract alignments road active, I'm going to press F4 to see all the horizontal PIs, HPIs. You can see that will work for a few applications, especially when wanting to model the road exactly. But when creating a theoretical alignment for a design report on the existing road, this won't really work. So the best thing to do would be just to zoom out and have a look at the existing. What you can also do, maybe let's just turn off this road for now. So we've got the center line. I just want to make this a little bit more easy on the eyes. We can see we need to start with the PI system. You have to start on a straight. Then we've got a curve, a straight, a curve, and a straight again. So I'm just going to, with I'm going to right click over here, and then I'll just add another layer called CAD road center line. Press OK. I just want to send this one to that layer and switch off the other layers. So we'll just switch off. Great, I'll just zoom out. Okay, so we need to find out where the straights are, the curves, and possibly the transitions, and what the transitions lengths are. But it's not that easy to see, but just good to know that it is there. We are using the PI system for the road design for this case, so you need to start and end on a straight, preferably horizontally and vertically. That's why it's important to sit down with the land surveyor that's going to survey the road and make sure that you're starting and ending on a straight, as well as what needs to be surveyed. So we're going to start at this location here. I'm just going to select it. So we'll start over here at this vertice, and we need to identify a straight. So I'm just going to use Control L to draw lines just so I can see where I am. So I'm going to start there, and anywhere on this straight we need to click on one of the vertices. So I'll say we'll go somewhere here. Then we can identify that this is the curve, and this is probably a transition before and after. So I'll just identify that I want to click somewhere there for the curve, and the transitions are reported in a different part of the software, which I can show you later. And then it will want somewhere along the straights. So I'm going to click somewhere along there and somewhere along here. I'm just pressing escape and spacebar to start again. I want to get anywhere on that curve to get the best fit of that curve, and then somewhere along here again, and then the ending. So you can see here is the curve, and there's possibly transitions here. The only way you can see that is if you zoom in once it's done, and we can have a look. So now what we need to do is get this into an alignment that we can use for reporting. If we go to, you've still got this road active. So if I go to alignments, horizontal edit alignment, you can see that it took currently the PIs are every single vertice. This is what the industry wanted from us, so that they could report a as-is model and get a vertical alignment. But this isn't something I would use if I'm wanting to produce a new road. If we're going to rip and recompact the road, you're going to want a better way of reporting the curvature to the contractor, and also to run an analysis to see what the design speed is for this road. I'm going to close this now, and I'll keep that open I'll keep that alignment as it is currently, just to show you what I mean. If I go to design criteria and we switch it on and we choose a speed of 120, you can then press OK. You'll notice if I press the escape key and I press F4 when in roads mode, it flags all the errors because it's modeling the road exactly as is, but that doesn't mean that the curvature meets the design speed. So that is what I'm trying to resolve, and I'm trying to create reports on the design speed. Okay, I'm going to just quickly turn off this display. And now with that turned off, I'm going to go to alignments, regression, extract alignments. I'm going to do just the horizontal alignments, and I'm going to use the control points. I'd like to override the existing, yes. It says it wants the start PI, so I select the start PI. I use the point snap. It then wants any point along that straight, so I'll select it, and then it wants a point on the curve. 1 point on the curve, and then always 2 points on a straight to get the orientation. So I'll select 1 point there and another point there. Now it wants a point on the curve again, so I'm going to choose a point on the curve, and then it needs another point on the straight and another point on the straight to get the orientation again. That last point was the ending of the road, so I'm going to choose escape to end. You can then switch on the road, and we can go and have a look at how closely it got to the alignment. So it looks like it passes through it. We can press F4. We can see the alignment gets really close to the existing. It'll never sit on it because it's a theoretical alignment. We don't know how it was constructed. The only places where I would look is where the transitions could be taking place that are not matching. If that is the case, then you can go and include transition curves. If I go to alignment, horizontal, edit alignment, now you can see there's only 4 starting points again, and here you can include transitions in and out for the 2 curves. That looks like it has matched it quite nicely. What you can now do is generate reports on this alignment and see that it makes the 120 kilometers per hour design speed. So to do that, I will go to alignments, horizontal, and I will review the alignment. I'll say no to a spreadsheet output. And we can do a screen output as well as a file output. I'll click on the 3 little dots and I will give this a name. You can call it anything, it's fine. And here you can see it's given you a report on this alignment on the 2 curves. There's no flagging of any issues here, so it looks like it has made the alignment. I'd probably change these radiuses, make the radiuses a little bit more rounded off. All depends on how, what's more important, getting it to pass through exactly or getting it to be rounded up. You can also do a geometric report on the vertical. So if we go to alignment, vertical, review alignment, this time I will change and give the name vertical report. And we can say OK. It'll then produce a report. Here you can see that it is flagging where your crests are not meeting the 120 kilometers design speed, and here your curve length also is not meeting these design speeds. Great. It's very good to have this information handy, the vertical and the horizontal, for when you're dealing with clients and reporting back to them what the existing alignments are looking like in terms of the speed that is required for the road. I hope that helps everyone with this webinar, and please let us know if you've got any questions. We look forward to the questions. It helps us understand what the industry is needing, and have a great day further. Back to you, Charles.
Thank you, Christopher. That was very interesting. And I see we're going to be creating a number of extremely useful FAQ videos from today's webinar. To you, our attendees today, thank you very much for allowing the time to join us. And a further thank you to those of you who have chosen to follow our company LinkedIn page, which last month surpassed 5,000 followers. Not a bad feat considering that at the beginning of each month we can only invite 100 people to follow our company page, with the balance of our new followers each month choosing to do so on their own accord. In a few moments, I'm going to be launching a 1-question poll with regards to what type of contents you find or would find most interesting and useful on a LinkedIn company page. Please take a few seconds to participate in this poll. As always, we appreciate and highly value your input and engagement. So, once again, thank you very much for your time today. Please stick around for the poll, which will be launching very shortly. Have a great afternoon, weekend when it arrives, and goodbye for now.